The year was 338 BC. After more than 2 decades of relentless conquests, Philip II of Macedon stood at the pinnacle of his power. Having transformed the Macedonian kingdom from a fractured land into the most formidable military force in Greece, he was ready to assert his dominance across the entire Greek world. Philip's reforms in military tactics, including the introduction of the sarissa, a long spear that vastly extended the reach of his soldiers, had given his army a clear edge. Under his leadership, Macedonia had united, secured its northern borders, and was now ready to move southward. Philip's ambitions went beyond just securing Macedonia. His eye was on all of Greece, a land of powerful city-states, each with its own traditions and rivalries. His dream was to bring all of Greece under Macedonian control, establishing a united front against the mighty Persian Empire. But Philip's rapid rise posed a serious threat to the independence of the Greek city-states, which were not accustomed to being ruled by a foreign power. In the wake of Philip's expansion, Athens, long a leader of Greek thought and culture, became increasingly alarmed by the growing Macedonian power. Under the fiery rhetoric of the orator Demosthenes, Athens rallied against the Macedonian threat. Demosthenes, who had warned of Philip's intentions, saw the king as a tyrant who would swallow Greece whole. He called for an alliance between the Greek city-states to resist Philip's encroachment. However, these calls for unity were met with resistance. Athens struggled to gain full support from other Greek cities, as some were swayed by Philip's diplomacy, and others feared conflict would tear Greece apart. The most significant opposition came from Thebes, one of Greece's most formidable military powers. The Thebans, led by Theagenes, had long seen themselves as Athens' allies, but their relationship with the Athenians had grown strained. Despite their differences, both Athens and Thebes recognized Philip's growing influence and decided to unite in a coalition to stop him. However, this alliance was fragile at best, as many Greek cities, including Corinth and Argos, had already aligned themselves with Macedon, swayed by Philip's political acumen and promises of peace. As Philip's army marched south toward Boeotia, the Greek cities found themselves standing on the edge of a knife. They had no choice but to face the Macedonian threat head-on. Their forces, though numerous, were disjointed and lacked the coordination Philip's professional army possessed. Meanwhile, Philip's campaign was bolstered by his son, Alexander, who had already proven himself as a gifted tactician and warrior, commanding a cavalry unit that would play a crucial role in the coming battle. By the time the two forces converged near the plains of Chaeronea, both sides were preparing for what would become one of the most decisive battles in Greek history. Philip II of Macedon meticulously arranged his forces, knowing that the key to victory lay in the structure and coordination of his army. His forces were arranged in a strategically slanted formation, designed to take full advantage of their superior discipline and flexibility. On his right flank, Philip stationed his missile troops, soldiers equipped with ranged weapons who could harass the enemy before the lines engaged directly. At the core of Philip's forces were his elite infantry, a group of soldiers personally selected by the king, armed with spears 2 to 3 meters long and well suited for fast-paced combat. They formed the right wing of his army, a position from which they could strike decisively when the time was right. Behind them, in the center of his formation, was the famous Macedonian phalanx. This dense line of infantry, armed with the long sarissa, spears that ranged from 4 to 6 meters in length, formed a nearly impenetrable wall of spears, making it virtually impossible for the enemy to break through. The phalanx was organized into 15 to 20 ranks deep, allowing the soldiers to support each other while pressing forward with relentless force. To the left of the Macedonian phalanx, Philip stationed another block of infantry, providing additional support to anchor the center and left flank. Beyond this infantry block, Philip deployed a mix of light Thessalian cavalry and heavy Macedonian companion cavalry. The Thessalian cavalry was famed for its mobility, while the companion cavalry, under the command of Philip's young son Alexander, had a reputation for being one of the finest mounted forces in the ancient world. On the extreme left, Philip placed another contingent of missile troops, further ensuring that the enemy could be harried from multiple angles. Philip's army numbered approximately 30,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry, a force well equipped for the battle ahead. In contrast, the Greek coalition assembled their forces in a way that reflected the diverse city-states that made up the alliance. On their left flank, the Athenian hoplites, well equipped with large shields, hoplite helmets, and 2 to 3 meter spears, formed a solid, though untested, force. Despite their superior equipment, many of the Athenian soldiers were inexperienced, and this lack of battle-hardened experience put them at a disadvantage compared to the Macedonian soldiers. In the center, the Greek forces relied on a mixture of hoplites drawn from various Greek city-states, bolstered by mercenaries hired by Athens. This mixed formation lacked the unity and cohesion of Philip's Macedonian army, which was a significant disadvantage when it came to executing complex maneuvers. On the right wing of the Greek coalition stood the Thebans, who fielded some of the most experienced hoplites in Greece. The Sacred Band of Thebes, a unit of 150 pairs of male lovers, was placed at the heart of the Theban force, known for their exceptional loyalty and fighting prowess. In total, the Greek coalition fielded around 35,000 troops, a slightly larger force than Philip's, but their lack of experience, fragmented command, and internal divisions put them at a distinct disadvantage. Though their numbers were greater, the Macedonians' battle-tested army under Philip's command was more unified, experienced, and prepared for the coming clash. At dawn, King Philip II and his son Alexander led the Macedonian army to face the united forces of Athens and Thebes. Philip's strategy hinged on precision and patience. He began by advancing his right flank against the Athenian left, instructing the rest of his army to maintain their positions in a slanted formation. Meanwhile, Alexander, commanding the Macedonian cavalry, was ordered to hold back, poised to exploit an opportune moment. Despite his youth, Alexander's prior battlefield experience and leadership earned Philip's trust for such a pivotal role. As the Macedonian right approached, their skirmishers surged ahead, loosing arrows and javelins at the Athenian lines. Their aim was to provoke the Athenians into abandoning their formation, but the Athenians held firm, disciplined, and determined. Within moments, the Macedonian hypaspists, elite infantry, charged forward to engage. The clash was ferocious. Philip's seasoned warriors inflicted heavy casualties, but the Athenians, fortified by their numbers, resisted stubbornly, refusing to give ground. Observing the battle from his position, Alexander noticed a growing risk. Philip's right flank might become isolated if the Athenians continued to press their numerical advantage. Acting decisively, Alexander ordered the Macedonian left and center to advance gradually, applying pressure across the Greek lines and maintaining cohesion within the Macedonian forces. As the battle wore on, Philip identified an opening. Sensing fatigue in the Athenian left flank, he ordered his right to feign a retreat. The Athenians, interpreting this as a Macedonian weakness, surged forward, eager to press what they believed was an advantage. Their pursuit pulled them away from their main formation, creating a dangerous gap in the Greek lines. In the center, the Greek allies noticed the Athenian advance and moved to support them, abandoning their tight formation. However, they found themselves face to face with the Macedonian phalangites, whose bristling wall of sarissas, a wall of 18-foot-long spears, halted their advance and began pushing them back. On the Athenian left, Philip's retreat continued to lure them farther from the safety of their allies, stretching their forces thin. This was the moment Alexander had been waiting for. Leading 2,300 Macedonian cavalry, he charged across the battlefield with unmatched precision and speed. Simultaneously, he signaled the Macedonian left flank to advance, ensuring the Greek forces were attacked on multiple fronts. Alexander's cavalry smashed into the flanks and rear of the Greek center, employing the devastating hammer and anvil maneuver. Trapped between Alexander's cavalry and the relentless advance of the phalangites, the Greek center disintegrated into chaos. Soldiers panicked, abandoning their positions and fleeing the battlefield. With the center broken, the Theban right flank, including the Sacred Band, was left exposed. As the Macedonian infantry advanced, Alexander redirected his cavalry toward the Theban flank. The Sacred Band, refusing to retreat, made a courageous last stand, fighting valiantly despite being surrounded. Their bravery became legend, but their resistance was ultimately overwhelmed by the sheer might of the Macedonian onslaught. On the Athenian left, news of the collapsing center and the unrelenting pressure from Philip's forces shattered their morale. The Athenians began a full retreat, leaving Philip and his troops to claim the battlefield. By the end of the battle, the Macedonian victory was decisive. Reports suggested that Macedonian casualties numbered only 200 to 400 men, while the Greeks suffered significantly heavier losses, with 2,000 killed and 4,000 taken prisoner. The fields of Chaeronea bore witness to Philip's brilliance as a tactician and Alexander's emergence as a formidable commander. The Macedonian victory at Chaeronea in 338 BC was a turning point in Greek history, making Philip II unchallenged power on the mainland. In the aftermath, Philip spared Athens from harsh reprisals, releasing captured soldiers and securing the city's alliance. Thebes, however, faced occupation and a Macedonian garrison, while the heroic but doomed Sacred Band became a symbol of Theban resistance. Philip convened the Congress of Corinth to establish the League of Corinth, uniting Greek city-states under Macedonian leadership with the stated aim of a campaign against Persia. For Alexander, Chaeronea was a proving ground, where his decisive cavalry charge and leadership established him as a rising military genius. Philip's ambition, however, extended far beyond Greece. With the Greek city-states under his control, he turned his attention to the Persian Empire. Yet, he would not live to see his vision realized. In 336 BC, 2 years after Chaeronea, Philip was assassinated under mysterious circumstances, paving the way for Alexander to ascend the throne. The aftermath of Chaeronea laid the foundation for the extraordinary conquests of Alexander the Great. The battle not only unified Greece under Macedonian rule, but also set the stage for the campaigns that would create one of the largest empires in history, stretching from Greece to the Indus Valley.
On this channel, we are putting together narrative historical cinematic battles. Make sure to subscribe and thank you for watching. See you on the next one.